Hi, I'm Patrick Sullivan. This is Recurring Insight, and for this episode, I'm going to be talking about Bridge from Below. I don't really know what to say here other than Bridge from Below and reviewing it caused a tremendous amount of psychic damage. So I hope you enjoy it.
On a previous episode of Recurring Insight, I talked about Destructive Urge and how it may be the worst Magic design of all time. Naturally, that inspires a lot of conversation about other people giving their opinions about what the worst design of all time may be, and a common answer is Bridge from Below. And it's not a bad answer. Some of the sort of game design stuff I'll get into a little bit later, but it isn't my vote because I really don't even count it as a Magic card or a Magic design. So it's a permanent with no text box while it's on the battlefield and a ton of text that is live when it's in the graveyard. And it has a mana cost. I don't really know what to do with that. It's a card with a mana cost that when you put it onto the battlefield, it does not do anything. And I know long-time Dredge players have their story of the time they've cast their Bridge from Below to get around an Annihilator trigger or some other weird set of scenarios. But I don't know how you start with that as a design ever, including a set like Future Sight, which is really kind of like a sandbox for designs you would never print anywhere else. So that's a lot to unpack there. Now, to discuss the card while it's in play in quotes, in your graveyard. It's also a horrendous design, setting aside all of the stuff that I just talked about. A card that only has text in your graveyard and talks about when creatures you control die, almost certainly has to be applied to bad ends. There's really no honest use case you could possibly imagine for this card. It is basically just dumping stuff into your graveyard and then casting spells out of your graveyard or things for 0 mana and then, generating a bunch of triggers. And the counterplay, in quotes, that the card has involves your opponent destroying their own creatures. I know my pace in this video is a little bit slower than it typically is, but saying these words out loud, it is almost hard to believe it went to print even in a set like Future Sight. So as an exercise, what I like to do in these spots is, how would you improve the design? And I have a pretty easy answer to that. Have the text box be live when the card is in play instead of in the graveyard. This does a couple of things. Opens up a lot more interaction points, delays the timeline where your opponent may have access to Bridge from Below, certainly delays the timeline where your opponent has access to multiple copies. But I think it's probably best not to do Death Trigger, create some stuff, and then your opponent can destroy their own thing to kill it. So many play pattern power level issues. But as it stands, as it exists, it may not be the worst design of all time, but only because it's barely a design at all. But it is absolutely the most befuddling Magic card ever printed that does not have a silver border.
Again, that was Bridge from Below, and this is Recurring Insight. A couple of things you can do from here. Make sure you're subscribed to the Starcy Games YouTube page so you can get notified when new content gets uploaded to the page. Throw a like and a comment up there as well. I hope this proves that I'm willing to talk about literally anything. So all you Sensei's Divining Top fans out there, all of you The Abyss fans out there who have been peppering the comments page with these requests, stay tuned because obviously I will do anything.